Right, let's get some rules in place here, shall we? There will be a number of people who have been watching Hammers Chat for a long time who will know that historically I have always wanted to sign Adama Traore. Right, now, it became a bit of a joke. Let's be fair. It's become a little bit of a joke. And anytime Adama Traore is mentioned, in fact, anyone with the name Traore, or Dembele, actually, is mentioned, I somehow get linked into it. Now, I thought he was a brilliant young player, came through Barcelona's academy. I wanted to get him from Aston Villa. I wanted to get him from Middlesbrough. And there was even a point at Wolves. I thought, go and get this guy. We always struggled, really, whenever Mikel Antonio wasn't playing. And so I thought, go and get this guy. Just go and get this guy. He'll do the same job. And West Ham have had no pace for years and years and years, right? Anyway, I don't think I've mentioned it for a long, long time, but I'm just telling you now, I know what's coming, you mischievous lot. Yesterday, Gio did a video with a Nottingham Forest fan, excellent video if you've not seen it, and asked him all your questions, basically, about Nuno. And then in the video, he said one of the main reasons that Nuno had left Nottingham Forest was because they didn't buy Adama Traore. So I know what's coming. So everyone's going to be winding me up about Adama Traore. So Adama Traore to West Ham in January. Do you know what? I don't mind at all. I don't mind. I'm gonna say it. It's like, do I think he's the world's best player? No, but he's a bit of a guilty pleasure, if you like. I think he's strong and I think he's fast. He can't shoot for toffee, but I think it'd be fun. And so bring it on. That's what I say. Bring on Adama Traore. No, I'm not ashamed at all. Bring him on. Put him in the claret and blue or the black and gold or whatever it is we wear now. Adama is a hammer. Why not? I would have liked it about 10 years ago, to be fair. I don't even know how old he is now, but I reckon he would still be the fastest player in the squad. Anyway, there you go. Strikers, that's what I'm going to talk about today. Went off on a tangent there, didn't I? But I know what you like. I like you subscribers. I know what you like. Anyway, Mateo Pellegrino. That's his name. Big striker, big 6'4", 6'5" striker. He scored twice for Parma against Torino in Parma's last game. Got man of the match. This guy is a beast, right? A beast of a striker. We've been heavily linked with him today. A lot of BBC have linked us with him. We've been linked with him by at least two of the Italian, sort of daily newspapers. So whether there's something in it, I don't know, but it's worth talking about today. Because, as we know, in the summer, we didn't buy a striker. We got an old one. We got a free one. We got a broken one, if you want, in Callum Wilson. But we didn't actually go out and buy a striker. Now, if you rewind back to at the end of last season, a striker and a central midfielder were the two priorities. Well, we didn't go and get the striker. And look, I don't know. I don't know what to believe. It's very, very hard to believe anything that comes out of West Ham. But so the story goes, Graham Potter had instructed the board that he didn't want a striker. Now, originally, I didn't believe that because I just thought the board just don't want to buy players. And that's really how it looked. And I do think the board had very much undermined Graham Potter by getting their transfer business done late. But the more you looked at Potter's reluctance to really play strikers throughout his time, or going back to him hiring Evan Ferguson and not playing him, and just the amount of times he'd play Bowen over there, and even this season there was a game. I can't remember which game it was actually, but he had before the Palace game, quite possibly, he had Füllkrug and he had Callum Wilson and Marshall all fit, and he chose not to play a striker. Played Lucas Paquetá as the number 9. The more it went on, I thought, do you know what? I can believe that. I can believe that Graham Potter doesn't want a striker. Immediately, as soon as Nuno came in, striker, Füllkrug, straight up front. Not just that. Not only did he play Füllkrug up front, he played him for the whole 90 minutes. I mean, probably should have substituted him. I don't think that was necessarily a statement of intent. I think the dropping of James Ward-Prowse was a statement of intent. I think that was just like a little window into Nuno's thinking, which is, I want a striker. Now, last season, they did really, really well, and it was really interesting listening to the Nottingham Forest fans speak to Gio yesterday. He was talking about Chris Wood, and he spoke about Awoniyi, and as he mentioned, Awoniyi was never fit for long enough to really make himself a long-term consideration. And he also made the point that every time sort of Chris Wood, everything he touched turned to gold, basically, last season. So it doesn't take the biggest leap of imagination to think, yeah, okay, Nuno is going to want a striker, and he's probably going to want one in the mould of Chris Wood, quite possibly, which is why I think Füllkrug played all game. Is he Chris Wood? No, he's not. He's got a different name and everything, but he's probably the closest thing we've got to him. So when I got linked with this Matteo Pellegrino, who I didn't know a lot about, I had a little look, and I've gone and had a look on Y-Scout, which is basically the international scouting software. In fact, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. For those of you that are patrons, I'm going to do a little scouting video on this. We call it the amateur scout. I'm not adept at this stuff. I've basically all the gear and no idea. I'll go and have a little look at this player and see what we think of him, basically, and go and have a look at his stats, have a look at his footage. And so I'll tell you what, I'm going to go and put that up on Hammers Chat's Patreon over the next day or two. But I'll tell you now what I did look from my brief peruse at him. It's hard not to look at him. I think actually he did remind me a little bit of Chris Wood. He's they say quick feet for a big man. Let's leave that. I don't think he's got that. He's a big old oil tanker. This boy, he's Chunkenstein. Do you know what I mean? But he's quite mobile for someone that's 6'4", 6'5". Let's put it that way. I think he looks more mobile than Chris Wood. But there's a lot of similarities. It's not just that he's tall; he's physically strong as well. He wins everything in the air. Not just that, he's really good at it. He's got really good technique on his headers. He directs his headers well. Scores a lot of goals with his head. Now, he's young. He's not scored loads and loads of goals. But I think the first thing when I started looking at the scouting software, the first 5 goals I saw of him were with his head. He scores a lot of penalties. He's left-footed. And I looked at it and I thought, yeah, actually, I can see that. Sometimes you look at players, you think there's just no chance. I remember under David Moyes, I was getting linked sometimes with strikers, and I would look at him and think, no chance. This guy will not get selected under David Moyes. I just took one look at this guy and said, yeah, I can see that. Nottingham Forest are interested in him. Tottenham are interested in him. And I think Roma as well. I don't think he'd be massively expensive. And he's one of his former clubs still own 50% of his registration. So if you buy him on Parma only get half the money. But I don't think he'd be massively expensive. But I do think he'd probably really, really fit into Nuno's style. And I think he plays really well with his back to goal. And he's a bit of a fox in the box when he's facing goal as well. Now, he's an interesting one, this player, because he is... So if you recognise the name Pellegrino... that's because he is the son of manager who's managed all over the world, Mauricio Pellegrino. Now, he is Argentinian, Matteo, but he was born in Spain. Because his dad travelled around a lot as a manager. I think he was in Valencia's academy, he was in Inter Milan's academy. So he comes from a good footballing stock. I just thought, okay, I can understand this. And I do think very much if West Ham are going to be looking at a striker, we've probably very much changed the profile of striker that we were looking at, which I don't mind under Nuno, but I think it just does. It shows up all the inadequacies of the way West Ham have recruited. How I'm pleased to have Nuno. I really am. I'm not talking about his appointment. I think we were lucky that he was available at the time, and I feel so much more positive about West Ham now. But I've done videos about Nuno, and I'll do more videos about Nuno. I'm not really talking about him. I'm talking about the fact that we seem to just lurch from a counter-attacking manager in David Moyes, and then we get rid of him and we sign Manuel Pellegrini. Go for a different style. He gets ditched, even though we've brought in this director of football, Huselos, and we buy sort of different type players. And then Moyes comes back in, and I remember Moyes walking in looking at a Jetty thinking, what's this guy? We'll get him out straight away. So we go back to a counter-attacking manager, and then, you know, we get rid of Moyes and we want to bring in Lopetegui. And then we get rid of Lopetegui and we want to bring in a different type manager. And all this time we're bringing in different styles of players to suit a different manager. And then we get rid of Potter, and now we're bringing in a counter-attacking manager as well. And in many respects, we're quite lucky because there are still players at the club from Moyes' time who are going to suit the new manager. So we're going for a different type again. Honestly, it defies belief. I just think if we're going to do something, stick with it. And then if for whatever reason Nuno doesn't work out, the next manager out after him is going to have to suit the players we've got, or just bring in a director of football. Anyway, it's absolutely ridiculous. So it looks like we are going to be looking to bring in a striker in January. And I think we have to. We really, really have to. So yeah, looking at this guy, he looks all right. He looks okay. He is a little bit Steamboat Willie, if I'm honest. But he looks to be effective. If you're going to go and look and to build play around this sort of fulcrum, this pivot of the attack, and you're going to get pacing around him and running past him and getting a flick on headers and all that type of stuff, which it would appear that was something that Nuno wanted to do in his first game. There may be, just maybe, this guy is is one of the right guys to do that. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below. I've got a dog scratching at the door now. This dog is mad, right? He's now scratching to get out. Yet when I started to do this video, he was scratching to get in. He can't make up his mind. I guess that's a lot like West Ham's recruitment.